Truly, time makes fools of us all. I am hard-pressed to think of a place where I can see this in a stronger effect than Hollywood. Once a gleaming city on a hill for anybody hoping to break into show business and a symbol of what hard work can achieve, it has since decayed into a vapid, tone-deaf, cannibalistic factory of homogeneity. But every now and then, like a hostage in my basement forced to preview my videos, a film manages to fly under the radar and escape unscathed to prove that at least a few people in the machine are still capable of decent writing. Between underperforming ticket items like Elio and unimaginative remakes like Lilo and Stitch, do not get me started, 2025 has not been a banner year for kids' movies, so when I was finally duped into watching a Netflix original movie called K-Pop Demon Hunters, my hopes were not high for it to be good. But you know what? It was good. Very good according to the viewing figures that slate it as the most watched Netflix movie of all time. The wild thing to me is that Sony started the project but had such little faith in it that they forewent a theatrical release and dumped it on Netflix to finish. Ha! Imagine being the exec who made that call and having to justify it. K-Pop Demon Hunters is an original story which is already a mark in its favor. Also, the animation looks like the people behind it didn't actively hate themselves and their audience. I won't pretend it's a small thing, but it goes a long way towards giving the impression that you actually care about what you're providing your audience. But we have to face the music. Literally, because the soundtrack is unfortunately catchy and sticks with you far longer than it has any right to, especially when you're just trying to listen to 107.7 The End and they won't stop playing Golden. Great stuff, but can the story stand on its own two legs? In a word, mostly. Now, adult men are probably not the film's target audience, but how should I know what went on in the director's head? If it's anything like mine, a lot of glitter and knives. Still, if you create something that appeals in some facet to multiple demographics that comparable works simply would not, then you must be doing something right. So throw on your favorite K-pop record and join me as I surmise what that might be. And just FYI, there are heavy-duty spoilers in store. If you're one of the 5 people who haven't yet seen this movie, I would account for that. I won't lie, the story is as goofy as it sounds. Stick with me on this one though, because once you understand the basic rules, you'll be able to follow along with no problem. Before getting into it, I want to take a moment to appreciate 2 things that happened in rapid succession. 1, somebody pitched this. 2, somebody greenlit it. Okay, enough messing around, this is what it sounds like. Looks like. K-Pop Demon Hunters centers on friends Rumi, Mira, and Zoe living as a famous K-pop group called Huntrix by day and Demon Hunters by night. The only person who knows of this dual role is Celine, part of the previous generation's Demon Hunters/pop star trio. Why the double life? Because their voices have the power to heal the shrinking force field between the human and demon worlds called the Hun Moon. Just stay with me here. It's implied that some type of secret society is in charge of this process, but that offers up more questions than answers. Is it only members of this society who have song power? If so, how is it bestowed? Is it a Star Wars Jedi situation where any kid with song power is dragged into it? Where is the lamb sauce? None of this goes over very well with the Demon King, Guima. He sends a demon boy band called the Saja Boys to rival Huntrix and gather as many souls as they can for him to feed on. The film is pretty loose on what happens to these souls, but for the sake of this video, I assume they turn into demons. The Saja Boys are led by Jinu, who was once a human and acts as Rumi's love interest because of course he does. You can't have one movie without a romantic subplot, right? Whatever, at least it takes a backseat to the real action. As the movie goes on, Huntrix and Saja Boys compete both on and off of the stage, each hoping to pull off a massive victory in the upcoming music awards. While the girls work hard on their next hit to seal the Hun Moon once and for all, Rumi regularly meets up with Jinu basically just to chat. Sure. Obviously they start falling for one another and Rumi is torn between her duties and her inner feelings as Huntrix continues to work towards the K-Grammys. Odds are not stacked in their favor though, because group tensions are rising and Rumi's voice is going out. What could be causing this, I wonder? The answer is exactly what you'd think. Rumi's father was a demon, and that is all the information you'll ever get about either of her parents except that her mom was in Celine's singing group. I think. I don't know, I can't be bothered to look it up. Anyway, Rumi wants to tell her friends about her secret, but Celine won't let her because her nature needs to be hidden and all that jazz. Once the Hun Moon is sealed, her demon side will just go away, so I don't know, don't ask me how that's supposed to work. But it seems to assuage her fears. Why worry about it if you know it's gonna get fixed, right? What could go wrong with this rock-solid plan? Finally, after all their hard work, the K-Grammys arrive. During Huntrix's big performance, the demons pull the old switcheroo and trick Rumi into thinking her friends know her secret and hate her for it, resulting in what appears to the world to be a very public breakup of the band. When the real Mira and Zoe figure it out, they are hurt by Rumi's lies, which prompts her to flee. She runs back to Celine and chews her out for instilling self-loathing in her, which puts another crack in the whole moon, because demon superpowers or whatever. Then the Saja boys lure a massive crowd to the city square and use an evil song to get souls to Guima. Little do they know that Rumi is about to come out of the shadows to sing a song literally described as the one that she couldn't previously write with her bandmates. Yes, I am aware that she doesn't write the lyrics for the band. That kind of nitpicky criticism has no place in a review of a children's movie made by a contentious chatterbox with a record button and access to the internet, don't you know? Anyway, joined by her bandmates, Rumi sings everything back into order. Jinu, having learned the error of his ways, gives his life to help defeat Guima. Following the madness, the three demon hunters sort out their issues and agree to take a well-earned sabbatical, which lasts a grand total of 3 seconds, and then they're right back into K-pop stardom, closer than ever and with a fresh perspective. What a relief that we'll never get any sequels already in the works. That's the basic shape of the thing. It's a little simple in places, but try to remember that this is children's entertainment and not the usual suspects. Overloading kids' brains can be just as bad as giving them nothing, so I appreciate the filmmakers trying to strike that balance. Unlike some corporations I can't name without getting dragged into a lawsuit. But what is up with Celine popping in and out of the narrative whenever Rumi needs to have a moment? Why couldn't she help them along the way? Do you lose your song power when a new generation of singers is chosen? Why is the sad Cebu sad? That's really all I have to say by way of the plot. It's a nice little self-contained narrative that kids should have no problem following along with and maybe take a lesson away by the end of it. Speaking of lessons, I'm glad to see any movie, let alone a kids movie, made with a real message in mind. It feels like the only point you take away from most things in the 2020s is buy our merch and don't worry about the moral subtext. I admire the earnest, if slightly muddled, attempt to put a real theme across. I say it's a touch muddled because I'm not sure exactly what we're supposed to think of Rumi's demon side after the resolution. I mean, Jinu was a demon who maintained his humanity. I hope he never got a case of the munchies because then Rumi would have to as well, and that's just an uncomfortable piece of subtext to grapple with. I'm all for giving your protagonists a dark side, but I don't imagine this is what the writers had in mind. The point of the story is simple enough to grasp. Rumi's battle with her heritage is a pretty obvious stand-in for whatever trait you want to see, but I guess that's the point and part of the reason it works. One core trait of good writing is the ability to accomplish several things with one move, so having something that fits the story while also leaving enough room for people to identify it with their own experiences is honestly a smarter piece of writing than most Hollywood execs have been able to fart out since COVID. But I think the best part of this film might be that the characters aren't cardboard cutouts. They have real strengths and weaknesses that influence how they interact with each other and the world around them. Take note, Mouse Corporation. When you give your characters actual flaws to struggle against, it allows for interesting creative directions to be explored. On the whole, I think K-pop Demon Hunters is a solid choice for family movie night. Yeah, it's a movie for children made by Netflix with a premise every ounce as zany as the title implies. It is also an original IP with decent characters, a plot that tracks, real themes, and enough universality to appeal to a wide audience while maintaining enough individuality to have its own voice. Haha, voice. Audiences love it, and you can't hardly spend 5 minutes on social media without somebody praising it as an equal to the real Lilo and Stitch. That delusional claim aside, I think the movie works. It knows what it is and leans fully into it, not taking itself too seriously while still respecting the heart of what it was going for. It's a fine example of what it was meant to be. If Netflix, of all things, can turn out an original film that rises to this degree of success in 2025, then I refuse to let anybody else get away with the stunts they've been pulling for more than a decade now. And you know what made it so good? Effort. Sheer will to draft and rewrite until the filmmakers had something palatable, and then countless hours bringing that vision into existence with animators and voice actors working to the bone. They knew what they were going for, and I dare say they achieved it. In the hands of a different company, it might have gone south, but not in this case. I'm not pretending it'll change the face of film forever, but it's a testament to the kind of thing that can be achieved when you stop pandering to every Jane and John Doe who steps into a theater and just write your movie. Point of all this being, support your local K-pop group.